was laid off before it was popular. Little did I know, this will be the new normal.
What am I supposed to do now? My life is over.
You're exaggerating. Your life isn't over. It's only beginning. It feels like the world of job security and prosperity previous generation had known is just gone. I know people who have been laid off 2 or 3 times in the last year, and that is not unusual. 40% of Americans have experienced a layoff or termination at least once in their life, and these are stats from 2021, before it all started crumbling down. This constant change leads to a lack of stability, which can come at a high emotional cost. Layoffs can increase mortality rates by 15 to 20% over 20 years due to emotional and financial strain.
Is it just me, or is it getting crazy out there?
The job market is being transformed in many different ways, with some industries shrinking and new ones being created. About 65% of today's students will work in jobs that don't yet exist. This is possibly the new normal, a job market that's characterized by volatility and constant change. So what do we do? Here are some mindset shifts that help me feel a bit more at ease in today's new reality. I have anxiety. I like to obsess and try to control all possible variables to know what is going to happen. At some point, I even felt like I'd prefer to know that something bad was going to happen, because at least I could prepare for it. Obviously, that's not the right way to live, especially in today's context. Today's context kind of forces us to befriend uncertainty a bit. Let me tell you one story from my life that kind of helped me with it. During the pandemics, me and my partner had to go back to Poland, and we were forced to move back in with our parents. A lot of things were happening outside of my control, and I started spiraling in my anxiety, thinking, I don't know where I'm going to be in a month, I don't know where I'm going to be in a year, and it freaks me out. And my partner sat me down and said, look, you have 2 envelopes. This one will tell you one place where you live for the rest of your life, and one job that you'll be doing for the rest of your life. This one has a wild card in it, meaning you could be once here, once there, things could change. You can only pick one. Which one do you want? Is everything decided, or is everything possible? Being completely honest with myself, I knew that I would much rather have a life of uncertainty than my fate decided for me. When your fate is uncertain, you can still do something about it. You can try to rebuild your life any way you want, and every rock bottom can be a solid foundation for a new life. When nothing is certain, everything is possible. Jobs come and go, now more than ever. It seems like it would be a bad idea to build a life where all your life's happiness and meaning depend on your job. Your life's work, your vocation, that's fine, but a job, it's replaceable. You can love teaching, but you can teach at different schools. You can be passionate about coding, but you can code for different companies in different capacities. Yet I've met so many people who are convinced that their life will be good only if they do X at a company Y. And I fell victim to that too at some point, until I was forced to think otherwise. And now I think no matter where you work, that's simply not true. I liked a few conclusions from a podcast episode by Ezra Klein called The Case Against Loving Your Job. It explores this scenario where you spend years jumping through one meritocratic hoop after another, accumulating student debt, all in the hope that there is this dream job waiting for you at the end. And then you have to face the harsh reality that's a bit more complex than that. We call it our vocation, our meaning, our calling, but what if it's just a job? Maybe it's partly our fault for having this expectation that a job will complete us, make us happy, when it should be paying the bills and providing social security. It's amazing if you have a job that you love, but if you don't, that's fine. The safest strategy would be to derive your meaning, your happiness, and your identity from different sources: your relationships, your community, your passions, and yes, your job as well, as long as it's one of the many reasons for which you live, as opposed to the only one. As the saying goes, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and maybe get your eggs from different suppliers in case one of them goes bankrupt. Another aspect of identity that I bring up a lot on this channel is called identity capital. Since we know that our job may not be a lifetime gig, we should always try and build skills that make us desirable in the job market. We're talking hard skills, soft skills, transferable skills, and you can try and build them at your current job by thinking about how what you do currently can be applied in other contexts, or by thinking which projects are worth undertaking, where you can grow. And if your job does not allow for any of this, you can try and build these skills outside of work. In almost every single one of my job interviews, I spoke about the things that I do outside of work, so video making, volunteering, sports. I think our passions and hobbies not only make us more interesting and human, but also show our resourcefulness. Being fired or laid off is listed among top 10 stresses in life, right next to injury, divorce, or incarceration. So if this level of stress falls on you in life when you're already in bad mental space, it can be quite detrimental to your health. So what you want to do is build mental resilience. Let me tell you how my therapist helped me work on this. Imagine there is this bucket of water, and being late for work, that's maybe like half a glass of water. Getting an email from an angry customer, that's another half. Then your kid getting sick, that's a bit as well. And then your job being at risk, that's quite a lot of water. So what my therapist said was, Daria, you only come here when the bucket is already overflowing. We can't do anything about it, aside from maybe some crisis management. What you want to do is empty the bucket regularly. Well, how do you do that? It varies from person to person. You can start by doing a list of 10 things that help you de-stress and do them regularly, or you can start by going to therapy, not only when things become unbearable. Myself, I usually waited to do something until things got really, really bad because I thought that's me being strong, just dealing with things on my own. But the fact is, I wasn't dealing with the things. I was just surviving and carrying on as if nothing had happened until it was too late. So try and build up that mental resilience, check in with yourself, look at your bucket and empty it regularly, maybe even every single day. According to TikTok, once an overachieving people pleaser burns out, they become a corporate villain. The term is understood in many different ways, but I think we can focus on its positive elements, meaning the ones that don't hurt anyone, don't hurt your career, and don't promote some unhealthy anger or disengagement. The main premise is that you can still do your job well while prioritizing your physical and mental health, having a life outside of work, and that you deserve a workplace that's both a positive and safe environment. Obviously easier said than done, because so many of us know what it's like to be in a workplace where you can't demand or enforce any of that. But whenever it is possible, I think we should do it. I think it should be a mind shift that our generation can be part of by asking that we never have to sacrifice our mental health. And I personally try to have a few rules that I enforce mostly upon myself to try and create that safe space whenever I can. That means having strong and healthy boundaries made of steel and barbed wire if necessary. That means trying not to take work outside of working hours as much as possible. I also try to block time in my calendar for lunch to make sure that I do take lunch. I try to regularly block time for deep work without the pings and emails and without being available to everyone emotionally and intellectually all the time. I try to challenge meaningless tasks and doing somebody else's work, which proves hard, but I try to be kind and logical about it. Also, something that I'm learning is to prioritize investing in myself, so choosing work that gives me growth and value. Don't get me wrong, working hard is great if you know it's getting you somewhere, and I think this mindset is beneficial not only from the perspective of our own personal well-being, but also the company's output, because the better you feel, the better the quality of what you can offer. Importantly, talking layoffs, if worst comes to worst and you do lose your job, don't be afraid to speak out for yourself and stay informed about your rights. My very close friend was laid off while pregnant after 5 years in the company, and she did her best to be informed. She wrote to all the trade unions, employment lawyers, she wrote LinkedIn posts seeking support, and thanks to all her efforts, her settlement improved significantly. So never lose hope and be your own advocate. If demanding trust, transparency, and flexibility makes me a corporate villain, then be it. When it seems like we can't get rid of uncertainty, the only viable solution seems to try and embrace it. And since jobs seem to be the most unreliable element of our lives, we have to seek stability elsewhere, in our communities, in our friendships, in passions, in the confidence in our skills, and the belief in our inherent value as human beings. Seek out meaning in all sorts of different places and build your identity from many sources. Also look out for yourself more than ever by being financially responsible, by trying to have some savings if possible, by educating yourself about your rights, and by emptying your bucket every now and then. If you are between jobs, as many of us are right now, hang in there, keep looking, and please don't think that just because it takes time it reflects somehow on your value as a human being, because it does not. If anything, it reflects the imperfection of the system that we are part of. But it will get better, I believe. Love you, stay strong.